Hello guys and welcome to Blue Block. Today we will be coding, learning how to code, and the topic of today will be variables. Now for those that don't know what coding is basically a language that computers can understand that humans can too. They just write it in a way that they can understand it as well. And I'm using a website called Scratch, which is a kid-friendly, free website, and let's just get into it. But first, this will be replaced by a Join Us and a Sign In button, but you don't have to make an account or sign in. You can just go ahead and straight away press Create, which will open up this little loading tab, and let's wait, there we go. And this is the game object that's automatically in here, but you can go ahead and delete it and add your own things in here, and then there's a whole section of this, but we'll talk about that in another episode. Let's get out of here, and we're going to be learning about variables. Yes, variables. This is the most important thing to know before we dive into anything else in coding. Why? Because variables store extremely important information inside of them. They're literally the building blocks of a game or an app. And well, before we get into that, actually, this is called block coding. There's many different coding languages out there, like human language, and this is called block coding, where basically it has everything already written inside of it. It's just compiled into these blocks, so you don't have to write it. So the variables basically can store information like scores. They could store numbers, words. For example, I could set the score to 10, and it makes the score 10. But it's supposed to be set to 0. And variables store information, and they can change it over time when needed. And here's a little example of how that works. Let's say I'm playing a game where I must click this red ball in order to gain points. I can click it and it adds to my score. So when you're playing any game that has to do something with score, always know that variables are behind this because they are calculating your score and they are storing it inside of their code, and they're always basically keeping track of it until it's updated as it gets increased, or if you lose a point in games, they decrease. So now that we got that covered, let's figure out some things you can do with variables. Well, for one, you can change it to, I don't know, let's do a name, Bob. That will be stored in the name for, let's say, example, you want to make an RPG game and you want a name for a character. You can input the name and it will show here as the variable, because the name is stored inside the variable, always ready for use. So when someone needs to, I don't know, say it in the game, the player's name, it can use the variable and they will say it and it'll come out as the word Bob. So now that we've got that covered, we can go on ahead and see what else we could do with variables. So, let's say we have score to 5. And we have bonus to 10. Like, you get bonus points for, I don't know, completing the stage very greatly. What should the outcome of this be? Score equals 5 and bonus equals 10 variable. What should the outcome of this be? You guessed it. It's 5. Oops, sorry. I forgot to set this to 10. It's 15. There we go. Now, you can use this to, like, let's say you're adding up the results of someone playing a level in your game. You can use that to display the number 15 after adding up the score and the bonus together. And that's useful, and we can also do a lot more. We can subtract, we can multiply, we can divide to get all sorts of numbers, and we can see if they're equal. And they're not equal. And this is useful when you're like trying to make a like, it's just if you're trying to make a true or false value. For example, if you have a key and you're trying to unlock a door, if key is equal to, I don't know, 1, then that's the right key for opening up the door. So now that you know about variables, you're quite an expert. You know that you can use words and letters for variables, and numbers as well, and there's not really any limit to variables because they're really important. Now, I know you might be asking, are variables important in all coding languages? Because this is block coding. Yes, variables in any way, they are important. Because they, like I said, they make up the coding. They make up what you do. They make up the score, the health, the anything. Now, is there any best way to use variables? Not really, no. You can use variables in any way you'd wish, but I guess the best way is the way that you use them the most. But there's not really a best way to start out using variables, because you can use them for anything. As long as it's not something crazy like creating, a giant tower with one single variable. You can't do that. Only to store values like scores, health, stamina, anything like that. Now, my favorite way of using variables is using for health and stamina, because I make some fighting games, but I never actually finished them. So yeah, that's about it. Now that we know what variables are, we can put them to use in the game I'm trying to make. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I don't know. Let's see if you catch on. We're going to make ourselves a variable called click number, but it's just num for short. And we're going to do set clicks to 0 when it starts. I think you already got the hang of it, what I'm doing. And now we have that. We're going to show the variable using this. And we're going to switch it by double clicking and holding it right above here. And make it to where I'll explain what I'm doing later. Or what the blocks I'm using later. But hold on. I'm so sorry. I forgot I used it in the wrong game object. Yeah, when you're coding, you need to make sure you do it in the right game object. And then you go here, and then every time you click, we're gonna change it by 1. So let's see if this works out. We're gonna click it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. It did it. And we can keep on clicking and keep on clicking and increasing our number of clicks on that cookie. Now, I'd say we're done for the day with variables. We did it. We completed it. Great job, guys. Now you know how to use variables, and you know what they can be, you know the full potential of them. So, with that, remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.